Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. We're going to get started in just a few moments here.
Southeast, Tech State, Missouri Central.
I'm sorry.
We played our John's train. Yeah, and then we got Iowa, and then we got Purdue. Iowa was playing this year.
Actually, our girls will go.
Yeah.
What were they ranked?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. If you could please mute as you come in, that would be great. We will get started in a few minutes.
Yeah, we're I think the girls were predicted to finish second in the
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FBLA National Entrepreneurship Month webinar. I'm Yasha, Nagathan, your high school national president.
And I'm Jonathan Nevenhoven, your Collegiate National President. We are so glad that you could join us here tonight as we celebrate the creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurial spirit that drive our members and communities forward.
To kick things off, make sure that you drop an emoji in the chat that represents how your fall is going so far, along with your name and your state. And I see that we have some members that have already gone ahead and done that. So make sure you guys do our quick little icebreaker there, and then we'll get started. Before we kick off tonight's webinar, Jonathan and I have some exciting updates and opportunities to share with you. Jonathan, let's hear your updates from Collegiate.
Thanks, Yasha. Our Collegiate team has really been hard at work this fall as we have hosted our Industry Connect webinars. We've had 2 so far this semester where we've welcomed leaders from across the country to share a lot of different great insights. And we've also hit the ground running with new initiatives in partnership with the Alzheimer's Association. And we're really excited to announce that we've selected our National Collegiate Councils with 8 members on the Collegiate National Council and 4 on the social media ambassador team. And we also can't wait to see hundreds of our collegiate members at the 2025 Career Connections Conference taking place next week in Des Moines, Iowa. It's going to be a great conference full of networking and career development and a brand new case competition this year. So we're very excited for that. And as a reminder for all of our collegiate members on the call tonight, make sure to take a picture or a screenshot of your screen to show that you're in tonight's webinar to receive your Excellence Awards. You can upload it to the National Workshop page for credit. So now we'll hear from the high school and middle school division updates from Yasha.
Thank you, Jonathan. To start, I'm so excited to share that we have the largest program of work in FBLA history, which is 25 pages long, led by myself as national president and executed by my national officer team. Each of our 68 initiatives was developed to amplify your FBLA experience, and this program of work will be released soon on the national website, so make sure to stay on the lookout for that. Some of our highlights of our completed initiatives include selecting our national council members, which include our 50 national council members from 24 states across the country. We've kicked off our regional state officer roundtables and state president connection calls, and have built communication systems with our state officers. We've raised over $35,000 for our Alzheimer's Association and are so excited to see the thousands of FBLA members registered for the upcoming NFLC this weekend. Similar to Collegiate, if you're a middle school or high school member, make sure to take a picture or screenshot of your screen showing that you've attended tonight's webinar to receive champion chapter points. And we have over 40% of our chapters nationally that are actively participating in the champion chapter program. So if you're not sure about what that program entails, make sure to check out the FBLA website today. And as always, make sure that you're staying in touch with Jonathan and I, as well as our national officer teams. Me and Jonathan send out monthly president's messages, which have more information about upcoming events and initiatives. So make sure you're staying on the lookout for those newsletters. And as always, feel free to reach us at our emails listed on this slide and connect with us on Instagram. My Instagram is yasha.fbla and FBLA and Jonathan's is FBLAC_Prez.
All right. Thank you, Yasha. And so here's what we're going to be covering this evening: why National Entrepreneurship Month matters, the Young Entrepreneurship Panel, the Entrepreneurship Month Toolkit, as well as American Enterprise Day and the Shop Local campaign.
Each of these pieces celebrates the power of entrepreneurship, from learning and leadership to innovation and community engagement. November is National Entrepreneurship Month, a time to recognize entrepreneurs who spark new ideas, create jobs, and strengthen our communities.
It's also about encouraging innovation at every level, from students exploring their first business ideas to startups and established companies that are now changing the world.
Through FBLA, members gain the leadership and business skills that inspire individuals to transform ideas into ventures and make an impact.
Now, one of the best ways to learn about entrepreneurship is by hearing from those who have done it firsthand.
Now it's time for one of the most exciting parts of our program, the Young Entrepreneurs Panel. Each of our panelists started right where you are as FBLA members. They have gone to turn on their ideas into impactful businesses and careers that continue to inspire others. I will now turn it over to the high school national treasurer, Jack Hurley, and collegiate VP of development, Katie Bailey, who will moderate our panel discussion.
Our first panelist is Danielle Tolentino Tuason, managing owner of Seniors Helping Seniors Orange in California. Danielle leads a purpose-driven business that connects compassionate, active seniors with older adults who need support at home, empowering both groups to thrive through meaningful connection and care. Before launching her business, Danielle spent over 20 years in leadership development and nonprofit management, helping thousands of students and professionals discover their leadership potential. She's also a proud FBLA alumna and former Collegiate National President. Danielle, we're so glad to have you with us tonight.
To kick off our panel, Danielle, you've been a part of FBLA since your college years, even serving as a national president. How did that experience shape your entrepreneurial mindset and the way you lead your business today?
It's a really great question. Thank you for that. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. It doesn't matter where you are in your FBLA experience, whether you have an officer position or maybe you're working and preparing for a competitive event, or I know you all are connected with the Alzheimer's Association too and doing service there. Whatever role you're doing in FBLA, look at this as your laboratory. It's your place to try things. And what's great is that you're not quite in business yet, or maybe you are, but in FBLA, these are places where it's okay if you try and it doesn't work out. But it's also awesome if you try and it does work out. And so I would say that, this mindset of just being able to be in a space to try and see what works about your leadership style, about how to run an organization or a business, because running your chapters is like running a business. You've got to think about all aspects of it. Use that as a way to learn try things. That's exactly what I did. Whether it was how to manage a team, as president, or even us looking at budgets for the first time for our chapter. All of those things are things that you can learn that'll help you prepare for the entrepreneurial mindset that you need.
Thank you so much for that advice. Seniors Helping Seniors focuses on dignity, compassion, and community. What inspired you to take on this mission-driven work, and how do you see entrepreneurship as a way to serve others?
Oh, thank you for that question, Katie. So, I don't know. Ever since I was a kid, I've always just had this desire to help people in the community. I wasn't really thinking about, okay, what does this mean business wise? I just always wanted to help people. Like this was even when I was really young, like organizing my community to do a food drive, or just different things. That was always where my heart was. But then I learned later on in life and through FBLA that you can live a life of service, but also combine it with business. And that is so cool because then now you get, if you want to live the entrepreneurial life, you get to wake up every day to serve. I'm an entrepreneur at heart with heart. And I love that I get to wake up every day helping people, but I also can live. The other thing that really pushed me towards this specific business is that it's a personal thing for us. My family, about 10 years ago, we faced a very difficult situation when my father-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. And overnight, we became family caregivers. We had all these medications to figure out, how to figure out dad's care, in and out of hospitals. It was a very difficult time. But the thing is that I bet on this call, so many of you have had it doesn't matter how old you are, you've had a personal experience with someone having some kind of diagnosis and their loved one. And maybe your family was lost and confused and needed resources, but didn't know where to start. So I think a lot of times the mission driven work, it comes because you're driven by a personal experience or something that you're very passionate about, and you know that we as a community can do more. And so that's what brought me to Seniors Helping Seniors. And now we're helping families with that experience. We're helping other families who face similar circumstances.
Thank you so much for giving us your insight and showing us the more vulnerable side of business. Now, we know every business has its early challenges. What was one obstacle that you faced in launching your agency, and what helped you to overcome it?
Yeah, so for me, I spent a lot of time with you all actually. A lot of the work that I've done for the past, 20 years was with FBLA and other organizations like FBLA, working with nonprofit organizations, helping people develop their leadership skills, their communication skills. And I loved, loved, loved that work. And it's definitely prepared me for this because working with families and vulnerable populations and all of that, it has served me well. But I do not have a senior care background. I did not study that in school. Actually, many people in this industry don't, is what I've learned. And so I would say probably the biggest obstacle that I had to overcome was going into an industry that was very new for me. But here's what I know, and all of you here have this opportunity too. Maybe there's this competitive event you've been wanting to sign up for, but you're like, oh, I don't know anything about accounting and finance. I'm going to stay away from that one. No, if you have a desire to learn it, this is the best time to do it. Just be prepared to go all in. Like if you don't know anything about accounting and finance, but you want to do that competition, be prepared to put in the extra hours, reach out for help. See what resources are out there, and then even though you think you tapped into everything, try and find even more. And so that's basically how I overcame this obstacle, and I continue to overcome is I just went all in to the senior care industry. I've made friends. I found out where they all hang out. I go to networking events, workshops, paid and free. I've partnered with people who you would consider my competitors, but we've become good friends and I've learned from them. There's a lot of, just so many people putting out great content out there, partnering with other nonprofits and learning from that. There's just so much resources out there that you can tap into, but you have to take initiative to find those things. And when you think you found it all, keep looking for more. The other thing too is don't be afraid to ask for help. Like the other way that I've overcome this obstacle as I ended up bringing people on my staff that have experience in the industry and they teach me a lot. and they help train our team. And so, don't be afraid to ask for help when you're trying to learn something new.
That is such incredible advice. Now, you mentioned partnership and learning. You've mentored so many students and professionals in leadership over the years. What key leadership lesson has carried over most strongly in your life as a business owner?
So, what I've learned, I have a team of caregivers. They go into homes and they help older adults with their day-to-day tasks. And that could be anything from cooking them a meal to keeping them company to, helping to drive them to doctor's appointments. That's the kind of things that we do. But I don't personally do that. I'm not in the car driving them to appointments. I'm not necessarily in their homes cooking meals. So, the most important thing about leadership is how do you develop and empower the people who are doing such important work? And so that's what it's always been about. And that's why I feel, going into this industry, being a part of FBLA and all of the training that I received in leadership and communication, like all this, the training you all are going through now and the experiences you're having. I know some of you might be headed to the national conference coming up here soon. Like, soak it all in because all of that information will help you learn how to build teams, learn how to develop others. That's really what it comes down to. Like, if you're an officer in your local chapter, you have a responsibility to make sure the freshmen know what you're doing, mentor them, show them the way, show them the FBLA way, build a culture where people can feel free to try things, learn, be supported by one another, and if you do that, that's really that will carry over no matter what industry you're in, or if you do become an entrepreneur, or if you go off into business, and all of that will be valuable to you.
What an incredible statement. Show them the FBLA way. Now, outside of being a business owner, you lead a pretty busy life. You're a mom of two. So, how do you find a balance between running a growing business and being present for your family?
Yeah, so I have two littles. Athena, she's 8, and Theo, he's 10. They are so fun. My hope is that one day they become FBLA members, if I'm just being real. And maybe they will, because part of this balance is, it's not like a balance of there's this and this. As an entrepreneur, you're often, I don't know, the other entrepreneurs in the call can speak on this, but for me, it's been what's the integration? Like, how does life look like with family and business working together? And so I have to be super intentional. If you ever want to talk about like time blocking and planners and calendars, like we could have that as another conversation one day. Just DM me, we could chat. But that I reflect on my schedule daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly to see how I'm spending my time to make sure I'm spending it where I want to. And if I'm not, good, I'm reflecting on that and I'm making adjustments as I go. And then the other part, as it relates to my family, this is a family business for us. I know my kids are little, so they can't really work for the business yet, but they do. They do little things. They love helping me prepare for marketing events. They're always asking how the business is doing at night when they're praying. They pray for the clients and the families and the caregivers. And so we just find ways to celebrate the business, and they're very curious about it. And so it's not a balance per se; it's an integration that we're always working on, refining every day.
I love that so much, just finding ways to integrate your family into your business. So we have one last question for you. What advice would you give FBLA members who want to start a business that's both successful and purpose driven?
Yes, my advice would be you don't have to have it all figured out. I think it took me 20 years to finally make. I've been wanting a business for 20 years. It took me that long to be like, all right, let's do this. And it's because I was trying to make it perfect. I was trying to be ready, but you really don't. Yeah, I don't think you'll ever have it all figured out. You just have to be ready to take the leap and do it. So if that's something that's a fire lit within you, keep exploring that and don't try to be perfect. Just go for it and just work on it every day and it'll all turn out great. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danielle. Your story is just so impactful and a really just great reminder that leadership and heart go hand in hand when it comes to entrepreneurship. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would now like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Drew Marks, the CEO of Foreo. A proud Wisconsinite, Drew was a former FBLA member and served as the national treasurer, and is incredibly passionate in all that he does, especially when it comes to serving the community and the work that he has done. So I'm very excited to get to introduce him and the work that he has done. Katie, why don't you go ahead and kick it off with our very first question for Drew?
Yes. So you've been involved with FBLA since high school and went on to lead at both the state and national level. How did FBLA spark your passion for entrepreneurship and innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, number one, thank you, Katie. Thank you, Jack. And thanks to the whole team for having me. I find this just a huge honor to come back and be able to speak with members across the country here. And it was really reflecting a lot of my early FBLA journey, kind of getting ready for this. And Danielle, I think I loved your description of FBLA as a laboratory, because I just wholeheartedly agree. And I think that story just resonated with me. And for me, the personal experience was I was inspired by my peers through FBLA, like time and time again, as a first-year student in high school, all the way up through college apps and graduation, and going on into my undergraduate experience. Like, I just found such a source of inspiration meeting peers from around the country, around the state of Wisconsin and my local chapter, and then well beyond, and seeing how life was different around the country, and what people were working on. I find this, I joined FBLA. There's a phenomenal educator in my hometown that knew I had an interest in technology, and invited me to the first meeting, my first year as first year in high school, with the promise of free pizza, right? I think it was like the welcome. I was like, hey, wait, you don't know anything about this organization yet, but the free pizza. And I was like, sold, I'll be there. And, long story short, and fell in love with this idea of competitive events and different things I could learn. I had a personal passion for technology, and found myself at NLC that year in Anaheim, and competing in technology concepts. And I think it was just a phenomenal, like, eye-opening opportunity to what this whole world looks like beyond what I could immediately see 5 miles from my home. And I think I watched, members from Wisconsin, members from around the country speak on stage. I was mortified by the idea of speaking on a stage in front of 10 people, much less 100, much less whatever the very large number of thousands was in Anaheim there, and ended up, through my journey through FBLA, being inspired to ultimately, campaign and run for national treasurer, as Jack, you are today, and others on the call have gone through, I'm sure, many similar experiences. Like that was life-changing for me with FBLA, and it's really, and some of those same learnings have really propelled me then into my career, and becoming an entrepreneur along the way. Wouldn't trade anything for it.
I love how you highlight the growth that you went through, going from timid to being the public speaker that we all see on stage. So we know that Foreo builds learning simulations used by top universities and companies around the world. What led you to this field, and how did you see the connection between technology, education, and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. So two parts to answer this one. I think number one is I feel like I took a different path to entrepreneurship that just as like a highlight, there's so many ways to be, to behind the word entrepreneur here. So for me, I acquired with a group of investors. This was a business that's been around since 2001, two phenomenal co-founders that wanted to be able to bring on a leader like myself to their team, and be able to have kind of the next chapter of growth for Foreo be led with them. And I feel really fortunate that they are, now my two business partners today, and we're growing Foreo for hopefully many, many years to come. And that was not a path that I had even imagined. And it was a very unique opportunity coming out of an MBA program that I just highlight as I had never frankly heard of this path to entrepreneurship beforehand, but like continuing to keep your eyes and curiosity open, I think is just a theme I felt in FBLA, and has carried on through the rest of my career. So for Foreo specifically, like, I fell in love with this business and our customers and the learners we serve, because it just resonated so deeply with my own learning experience. We offer business games and simulations, starting out with universities, but really leading to businesses around the world. And it's a way of learning that is just so obvious to me as like useful. Like we can there's always reading a case, there's always diving into chapters, presentations, etc. But the very specific skills we're usually trying to teach in a simulation are just so wonderfully taught through team-based experiences, and it's really fun. We have one about we've built with partners where you're fictitiously climbing Mount Everest, and there might be someone in the group that's a marathon runner versus a surgeon or a photographer. You all have different motivations for getting to the top. And it brings out a lot of things that are taught in like a typical organizational behavior class. And yet it's brought into something that's just palatable to just a wide range of audiences. And for me, I think the biggest story with Foreo and why I get so personally excited is that it really helps just democratize access to topics and learning experiences that are normally only reserved for like a great institution or a very specific degree program, and yet we're able to bring it to millions of learners around the world. And I feel really grateful for that.
Yeah, so you hit a little bit on lessons and learning. So you started your career at Deloitte Consulting before moving into entrepreneurship in the CEO position of your current company. What were some of the biggest takeaways from that experience at Deloitte that helped you succeed as a founder and CEO?
Thank you, Katie. I think the number one thing from my early career at Deloitte, and even beforehand, was just on prioritization, and that like you have to make choices. I think you all, whether it's middle level, high school, or collegiate, you all are experiencing that right now, right? You all have responsibilities. My guess is at school, right? There's like assigned homework, there are exams coming up. And the expectation is that you do all of it, right? Like at school, it's like they've designed curriculum, well enough that you have the capacity to be able to go spend the right amount of time to study, and learn what you need to learn. I think that's a part of early life, and it's like just you have to have that. But soon and very early in your careers, you'll be giving more than you could do, right? Like you have X amount of hours in a week, and you're going to have to say, I'm going to do a really good job on this presentation. I'm going to get this one done, and I don't have time to do that. And I need to talk to someone about, hey, like what is the actual deadline on this, and do we need to adjust? Like that's a skill that you are going to like you're already developing an FBLA, right? I heard about the high school program of work being 25 pages long. Like that was a choice. Like that like it could have been 10, it could have been 40, and you made a choice because it felt like the right amount for what you're able to do. And that's very different than you're in algebra and you just have to do your homework for tomorrow. And you're going to have more and more of that throughout your career. And I felt like I learned a lot of that in consulting of there was a nonstop amount of work that could be done. And a lot of it was just having really thoughtful conversations with my team, with our clients, but what was the most important thing to get done that day, that week, that month, and how do we make sure we're planning appropriately for it?
You talked a lot about knowing when to make that pivot and make that change. So you left a stable corporate job to pursue an MBA and the entrepreneurship and CEO position that you currently have, which is a pretty bold move. How did you know it was the right time to make that leap?
Thanks, Jack. Number one, I think this is an incredibly personal decision for everyone. I think, Danielle, I heard your story, and Brian, I'm excited to hear your story. It's like every journey is very unique on a path to whatever entrepreneurship looks like for you. And so I always try to remind people of that. Like it's very personal. And for me, the answer is I had learned a ton in consulting in my early career. I really enjoyed it. I loved the analytics. I loved being able to try to step back from those analytics and tell a story and inspire some type of positive change, from the work I'd been doing. But I really just had this itch to test for everything I've learned. Could I have a bigger impact in a smaller team, either an earlier stage company or a smaller organization where there might not be as much of a hierarchy or an annual planning cycle. And I really wanted to test, like, for everything I've learned, can this be useful? And it, for me, inspired this leap of like, okay, I wanted to go pursue grad school for this, but then shortly after was okay, this unique opportunity came up to jump into a path where I'm going to calling small business owners around the country and trying to find the right opportunity. It all clicked, and it started with that personal decision. And I think it involved the appropriate amount of risk. I don't think it was we can talk about exactly the level of risk it was, but I think my early experience in FBLA just inspired that there's the right amount in with the right support network, you can probably go take a crack at it.
So it sounds like you had a lot of leadership involvement, in the early stages of your company development. So what do you think makes a great leader in tech or a startup environment, and how do you motivate your team at 4U?
A lot of good answers to this one. This could be a very long chat. But I think the one that I feel every day matters the most is trust, and both showing it to our team and then earning it from them and our customers in return. And what I mean by that is like sometimes explicitly saying, I trust you. Like, hey, this is a hard problem that you just described, and like you're asking me for advice, and like here's my 2 cents. But like when it comes to it, like we kind of know the bounds of the like how big this decision is going to be. Like I trust you to make the right one. And I think it it's both like motivating to anyone, whether they're fresh out of school, early on the team, or they've been there for decades, just knowing that, hey, like we all know the problem we're trying to solve, right? We're building a very specific learning experience for a customer, or we have a technical issue that we're trying to solve, or a big accounting question, whatever it may be. We know we're trying to solve. We're all trying to do what's best for the company and our customers. So like I just trust you on this one. And when you need me, like I'll be there, of course. But I don't if I'm making every single decision, it's not going to create a path for the rest of our team to grow. And so I found that invaluable. And I think particularly in small teams, you're not going to have a perfect system every time. There isn't going to be that perfect annual planning cycle, or the process diagram for every type of thing. And you've just got to work with the team you have and know that you're all trying to get to the right answer. And I think of what you're all going through right now, it's a perfect training ground for that. And so if you're on this call, presumably you're leaning into that, and I encourage you to keep going.
Thank you for your insight, especially when it comes to trust and the collaborative environments that we are in. So for our final question, for our students here tonight who are passionate about business and technology, what advice do you have about turning innovative ideas into reality?
Thanks, Jack. I'm excited for this question. So I've shared with you all that I grew up in Wisconsin, and my whole family's still there. I'm back often. I'm a very, very loud and proud Wisconsinite. And I'm now living in San Francisco, where, I had one idea of what Silicon Valley and early stage entrepreneurship looked like my entire life. And it felt like a bit of a mystery to me. And I feel like that was a lot of my journey through FBLA, was trying to uncover mysteries of what this world of business was. Early on, like, okay, what is, I think I had this idea of like you have sales and accounting and a product team, and my early experience was I was learning the whole way through high school and college. And I think as I've come out to a part of the country and part of the economy where there's a ton of innovation and bets made every single day, a big takeaway for me is number one, like foster your curiosity. If I can offer advice, is like you all like something sparks your interest every day, and as much as you can, I hope you just keep pulling the threads. You have so much information at your fingertips. I can only imagine what it would be like to be a student and have the amount of information you do today. Like use it. And I think number two is, as part of that curiosity is, of course, technology. But the real thing is the people you meet along the way, your peers in FBLA, your educators that you're so privileged to have right now that care for you in your chapters, and will in many other parts of your life. Talking to people and really respecting that. I think that the biggest thing for me that I've seen is entrepreneurship is a process. It is so rarely like, oh, aha, and now I've like built a billion-dollar business. It is, you've had 200 conversations and have this unique insight that, wow, 100 of these people that have this very niche problem that I am now becoming an expert in. And wow, there's not really a business that's out there to solve that. Or if there is, it doesn't exist in my community. Like, how can I go find a way to make that accessible to where I am today, or where I want to go? Like, I think to demystify this journey is that like there's a process, and you can build one, and you can follow others, and you can take those ideas and build something. You don't need to wait for like a stroke of genius. 10 years from now. I like you can start now with your own curiosity.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Drew. It was very incredible to hear from you and really just see how your FBLA experience and leadership journey has led you to something that is really impacting learners around the world today. So thank you so much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right, now we're gonna move on to our final panelist for the night, sorry. Please help me welcome Brian Farrell, an entrepreneur and owner of Factor 110, Destination Oklahoma, 110 Events, and Blue Circle Productions. Brian's career started in FBLA, where he served as the Collegiate National President and later worked as FBLA's Communications Manager. Today, he's been recognized as one of Oklahoma's most admired CEOs, led his company to the Incorporation 5000's list, and earned multiple awards for his innovation and leadership in event and destination management. Brian also serves on several boards, including the Virginia FBLA Foundation. Let's give a warm welcome to Brian Farrell.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Farrell. The first question that we have for you tonight is, what inspired you to transition from FBLA leadership to launching your own companies?
Well, that's a good question because when I was in high school, I never thought entrepreneurship or being in business was really a part of my trajectory. But it was really that exposure. My advisor saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and I still stay in touch with my advisor. We were just texting today, and I saw her last week, and but she saw something in me that allowed me to run for an office and continue my involvement at the collegiate level. But that exposure to going to the business day at a college, university, and seeing a college campus, or going to a state conference and seeing what that looked like. But that exposure allowed me to maybe see myself in places that I never thought I could do. Again, college wasn't a part of my plan in high school because no one in my family had gone to college. So why we've never talked about that. Owning a business was, again, never a part of my mindset or philosophy or plan. So again, people see things in you that you don't often see in yourself. In college, I met my roommate. We worked at the school newspaper together. And later in life, I moved to DC. And when I was working for Future Business Leaders of America, he was the one that told me, you need to open your own company. You need to be doing events. And he knew I was very passionate about FBLA and the work that I was doing there. But again, he saw something in me that I didn't quite see in myself. And today he's one of my top clients. And in the association world, and everywhere he goes, I get to come in and help him manage his programs and events. So for me, it's again surrounding yourself with those people, and that inspiration really came from others that maybe pushed me to take a risk that I was never ever ready to take, because being an entrepreneur and a business owner can be risky. And there's a comfort that comes with that, and how much risk are you willing to accept? And so for me, that's kind of, I didn't really set out to start a company. But when I launched Factor 110, we set out to make a difference and continue to have that same mindset, very much like with Danielle and that passion that she has. There's a passion and purpose and why we do what we do.
Thank you so much for that insight. If I heard you well, you said you're a first generation college student, correct?
Yep.
Yes, I am as well. I just kind of want to throw that in there, especially with
Yeah.
first national first gen day being on Saturday. How did your early experience in FBLA shape you kind of hit on it, but how did your early experience in FBLA shape your entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, and just like Danielle and Drew were talking about, like you're learning skills right now. You're learning skills that you don't even know you're learning, and your advisor is teaching you things that you don't even know that they're teaching you. And it'll come full circle, and you'll have the opportunity to give back and to teach those skills. But you know, running an FBLA chapter is like running a business. Again, we're doing fundraisers, we're managing chapter projects. We're looking at budgets, we're leading teams. And I can tell you, I was a very different leader in high school than I hope I am today. But a lot of that came from learning, seeing, emulating what I that didn't work well. I don't want to do that next time I'm in a team setting, or maybe I should have tried this approach next time. So for me, it really is, really was that kind of like incubator or laboratory, as kind of Danielle talked about too. Um, so you're learning skill sets, you're learning accountability and professionalism, and that service kind of oriented mindset that's just so important. And we carry those relationships, with us today. Um, the networks that you are making in FBLA can live, we have an incredible network of alums that, again, those relationships can last a lifetime, and you can always go back to kind of this FBLA time. But throughout your career, you can pull these skills back into place. I'm always learning, I'm always growing, just as I was in high school and college, even as an entrepreneur today. I don't want to be stale. I want to be relevant. So how do I continue to evolve and continue to learn?
I loved how you talked about that your FBLA relationships last a lifetime, especially with the high school and collegiate teams preparing for our fall conferences. There are so many major networking opportunities in FBLA. The next question that we have for you is just what are the biggest challenges and rewards of managing multiple businesses in the events and hospitality space?
Yeah, I mean, every day is different. That's what I love. I think from an entrepreneurial side of things, what I needed in my life was for every day to be different. Every event is different. Every program I touch is different. It challenges me, and that's what I needed. I'm never bored. I'm never, running out of things to do. If I don't like something, I can change it. So I think there's that flexibility and creativity that I just really needed in my life. Also, this entrepreneurship is probably not for everyone. And so you kind of also need to know, like, if it is, where does that fit? What do you crave? And how do you kind of like go after those elements that you can do well? And at the same time, surrounding yourself with other people to kind of take on some of those elements that maybe you don't enjoy as much or shine on. The challenges for me, we're managing multiple teams, we're managing multiple brands. We have expectations and from clients that are sometimes high stake. And, once the show starts, just like a national conference, once you step foot on that national stage, you can't say, oh, we're not ready, let's start over. Something's wrong. It's a live production every single time, and we have to be ready. So it's fast paced, and those are challenges that come that create stress. And with that, how do we manage stress and wellness and well-being with not just ourselves, but with our team and our clients? So we think about that often from a challenges side. The rewards for me is, again, I get to create what this looks like. I get to drive that boat and to shift. I get to do what I love and find people that I love doing it with. So that really is really cool. And then we get to create just phenomenal experiences for people. So when they walk into a ballroom or to an arena, and we know that we got to create this experience or a memory. So it's not just producing events. For me, it's so much more than that. And now in my life, kind of owning a company, it's been 20 years since I started my company. So now I'm moving into this next phase, and which is kind of this legacy piece. And that is like so rewarding for me. I get to work with young people like you. I get to work with the Virginia FBLA Foundation and several other FBLA organizations, our hospitality and tourism program at the university. But I get to give back in a different way and start thinking about what is the legacy that I want to leave, and do that while I'm living versus when I'm not alive, and really supporting young people in hospitality, entrepreneurship, and leadership development. So for me, that's a really exciting piece of my what's next in my business journey.
That is really amazing. You mentioned owning your companies for a very, very long time. So how do you continue to foster innovation and team culture across your companies?
Yeah, we always like, if something's not working, how can we fix it? We're not government, and we're not a large corporation where we can't just stop and fix it. If the process isn't working, let's fix it. Like, it doesn't have to be an ongoing battle. And so I love the fact that we could be nimble and flexible and really kind of shift with the times and react pretty quickly to things. So that's important. Again, our whole team has that mindset. Our mindset too, from a kind of an innovation and cultural piece is and Drew hit on this a little bit too, is this mindset of like, excellence versus perfection, because we can't do everything. And as you shift into, in FBLA, we want to be perfect in everything that we do. And really, we want to be excellent. And we can't give 100% to everything. But when we can land in that 80% mark and do things in a different way, we can do more and we can kind of land in excellence. And so having that, that allows for innovation to foster a little differently. And for me, somebody that is a recovering perfectionist, it allows me to kind of think different and factor in what matters is kind of a new phrase that we have developed within our team too. And I think what works with our company, I think Danielle, this is probably the same with you, is our team is family. We spend so much time together with our staff and our teammates, more time than they probably spend at home, right? And so we truly have to take care of our team as though they are family. We celebrate the wins together, we mourn the losses, and we take care and we lift each other up and we support each other. And we call ourselves, we're a factor family. And from that, I think that was where trust and innovation and shared purpose can really grow, because we're all in it together.
I love how you mentioned family when it comes to the teams that you're working on. I know for the national officers, we come to bond with one another and spend a lot of time together. So you do find that family in the teams that you are working on. The next question that we have for you is, what advice do you have for students interested in starting their own business or pursuing leadership roles in their industries?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. Get started somewhere. Like sometimes it's just that idea, and not just for you to get started, but sometimes you may see something in somebody else and see a spark there that you need to help light or help push them out, or and get them going too. But Drew was saying you have all this technology and things at your fingertips to make it easy. So like, do the research, do the homework, be curious. And sometimes then it's like being courageous, take that risk a little bit. Failure is just feedback, right? So I've had businesses, and I'm not going to say that they failed. I was like, those were lessons learned, right? And I'm like, oh, take that lesson. I'm not going to do that next time, or I'm going to do that differently. So I approach each one of those opportunities or obstacles as kind of that feedback of what can I do different from that point. And then focus on solving problems. Like, are you solving something? Are you passionate about it? Is it giving you purpose? And if so, then you're probably going to do some incredible work there. For us, one of the things we talk about too is we're looking at business. We don't want a transaction. I do not want to just exchange money with Jack. Like, that is not going to give me satisfaction. I want a relationship with Jack. I want a partnership. I want it to be collaborative. I want it to be what we call transformational, and that we buy into your mission, your purpose, and we have shared value and shared experiences there. That is when I think real, true, meaningful work takes place. And that's what we look for in the businesses that we get to work with. So we're not just out chasing a dollar, we're out chasing a partnership and experience and a collaborative piece, because it's meaningful to us. And we know that with that relationship, we're making a difference. So again, start somewhere. Leadership's not also always about being in charge, but it's taking responsibility for making things better.
Yes, I love that. And I know where FBLA is kind of where you got your start. So we have one last question for you.
Yeah.
How has your FBLA network continued to impact your career?
Every day, every single day. Again, just seeing Danielle on the call today, it sparks memories, because we were, officers around the same time period. For me, one of my first jobs in college, I walked in and I gave him my resume, and he said, "Oh, well, you don't need to interview." I said, "Well, why not?" He's like, "Well, you were an FBLA state officer. So was I. You got the job." And I was like, he's like, "But I know what you went through. I knew what it was expected of you." I was like, "Well, that's pretty incredible." So you have a vast network of not just FBLA, but all CTSOs. We all come, every CTSO, leadership development, some of these other soft skills. I would even expand that FBLA into CTSO, because you can talk to DECA and BPA and the other groups and have a very similar shared experience. And almost everyone has been a part of some organization. And so finding those opportunities. But I still use FBLA. Again, it'll be, my caterer that I use sometimes, FBLA member. The hotel person, an FBLA member. So it's like, again, that network exists. I know if I need something in this world, I can probably find an FBLA member, that owns a company or has a connection and can do those things. And some of my best friends today were people that I met at a collegiate conference. They weren't an officer with me. They were literally a member from another state at a collegiate conference. And we met there, had a good friendship, and 20 years later, we're still reminiscing. We still see each other every year. And those are really amazing friendships. So I always tell our students as I'm working at the university too, like look around, like take advantage of the time that you have with the people that are in this room with you or in your class, because at some point you may need them for something. And so stay in touch with them, know what they're doing, and lean on each other, because these are going to become your trusted vendors and friends and clients even in the future. So don't burn those bridges. And then find a way within that network too to find a way to give back. And I think, Jack, you said it too, like, again, for us, FBLA is a family too. Like you're a part, once you join, you're a part of this crazy, amazing group of people for life. It's not just a membership and you're done. This is a lifelong journey.
I love how you mentioned the FBLA network, that there's always an FBLA member doing something. And even our panelists tonight are representative of what FBLA members are out there doing in the world. So to conclude our panel for tonight, we're just going to do a quick fire round, just so we can get to know our panelists a little more. So for the next questions that we ask, we're going to start with you, Drew, and then Danielle, and then Brian. So our first question is, what is one word that comes to mind to describe entrepreneurship? And again, we'll start with you, Drew.
Inspiring.
Faith.
I'm going to go with grit.
I like Brian's. Both of them.
All great words to describe the hustle that is being an entrepreneur. And then back to you, Drew. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
It has changed throughout different stages of life. In high school, I was a morning person. In one job, I was probably much more of an evening person. I find myself being more of a morning person again. I'm very protective of my early morning, kind of like breakfast, read the paper time.
Morning, 100%. Love the quiet before everything starts getting active.
I've never been a morning person, and I've always was like a night owl because that was my creative time in life and overnight time. But now I like to call myself a daytime achiever, and I'm going to focus, what I can do kind of during that daytime period.
I love that. Daytime achiever, making the most of the hours that we have. But I do see a little bit of a trend of getting up and getting started, enjoying the peace and quiet, and then getting moving. So back to you, Drew. What is your favorite business tool or app that you use?
Oh, I love Notion right now. Notion is phenomenal.
This counts. It's like my health app on my phone and my Apple Watch. Like, you've got to stay healthy through this, because you're responsible for a lot of other people. And so as an entrepreneur, if you're going to take care of others, you have to take care of yourself too.
Gosh, Danielle, you're talking to me. No, I hear you, girl.
We can be on the journey together, Brian.
Right, we'll sync up. For me, I put just my checklist. Like I live by checklists, and I write them out every day. And I created my own version of a checklist that I've had printed for our whole team to manage kind of their day and cycle. And so, for me, that's my tool.
I'm always a fan of a good checklist. And Drew, I will vouch for Notion. Excellent tool. And Danielle, say it louder for our members in the back. When it comes to our conferences, staying up late and early mornings. For our members here, take care of yourselves, especially when it comes to a conference and competition season. So now, what is a book, podcast, or quote that has always inspired you?
Is this one me?
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Uh, I am just still such a like I love all things like early childhood reading. Like Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite series ever, always has been. I don't know exactly what you're supposed to learn in terms of your business careers with it, but yeah, I can't help it. That's top of mind for me right now. But every podcast would be acquired. Phenomenal series, if you haven't heard it yet.
For a book, I love The Alchemist. I just feel like everyone should just read it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And a quote, actually, this is a quote that I shared when I was in my FBLA days, and I still like I wake up every day thinking about it. I train all my people on it. I'm Filipino American, and we have a saying that goes isang bagsak. Isang means one, bagsak means fall. And basically, what that means is like if you've got people around you in your community that are down and they need help, like it takes a community, it takes all of us helping that person up because if they're down, we're all down. But if we lift everybody up, then everybody rises. So, isang bagsak.
That's powerful. And I want to say high school, college, I kind of created a motto called creating possibilities, making reality. And so for me, it was always about like, how do I create these possibilities and then go like turn those possibilities into action. And so that's just something, a motto that I kind of like follow and live with in business.
I love how we get to see the different perspectives, the different takes on what is our motto, what drives us. And it just goes to show that for our FBLA members, there's always something that can drive you. And it doesn't have to be a Disney quote or doesn't even have to be something from Michael Jordan. It can be anything that guides you. So for our final rapid fire question, if you could have lunch with any entrepreneur, living or past, who would it be and why? And we'll have you start us off, Drew.
Oh, that one's hard. Um, I get an extra second. Can we go? Did Brian or Danielle? Can I phone a friend for a moment?
I'll go. Oh, okay. So there's this woman, her name is Becky Reel, and she used to have the #1 home care agency in North America, both from the perspective of clients and caregivers. I believe like if you want to do well, you got to see the people who do well. And so I would love to have lunch with her. I've already chatted with her on LinkedIn. Like it's gonna happen, guys. And speaking of LinkedIn, like whoever you want to have lunch with, don't think, oh, that's just a dream. Like do try. You never know. The person you might want to have lunch with may have lunch with you.
Well, I'm going to have lunch with Dolly Parton. And I just think she's one of these incredible like business women that is just so humble, that you can be wildly successful without losing your heart, and that she's built this empire on kindness and creativity, and that she just leads with purpose and passion. And to me, that's just truly inspiring. And I love how generous she is and this legacy that she's building that she probably doesn't really know that she's building, but she's just changing lives. And to me, it's just somebody like that's a really cool person that I'd love to just have lunch with.
Yeah, okay, those are both great answers. I think top of mind for me right now is Taylor Swift. I think she's both a phenomenal artist and business leader, and I have so many questions about how she's done what she's done. Yeah, I could learn a lot, I'm sure.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it for answering all of our rapid questions.
Awesome, amazing. As we wrap up this portion of our webinar, thank you so much to our panelists. It was so great to hear from all of you and just for sharing your great insights. We learned a lot from you. So now we are going to move into our next portion, and we're going to take a look at how chapters can bring the entrepreneurial spirit to life this month. So the National Entrepreneurship Month Toolkit is packed with everything that you might need, with an overview, activity ideas, competitive event connections, point breakdowns, and lots of submission instructions for your chapter. So next, we will turn it over to Jack for some competitive events coming up.
Entrepreneurship ties directly to many of the FBLA competitive events that we offer across all divisions. For our middle school members, you'll see career exploration, exploring agribusiness, and more. For high school members, we have entrepreneurship, business plan, and future business leader. And for our collegiate members, entrepreneurship pitch competition and foundations of entrepreneurship all highlight this entrepreneurial spirit. These events help you develop real world business and leadership skills that mirror what it takes to run a successful venture. Now, we talked a little bit about this at the very beginning of our webinar, but please be sure to take a screenshot that you're here and submit it for champion chapter points. For our middle school members, you can earn up to 200 points. High school members, you can earn up to 700, and collegiate members, you guys can earn up to 500 points. And don't forget the bonus points for participating in the Support Local Business campaign or touring a business virtually or in person.
Thank you so much, Jack. And if you're also looking for other creative ways to get involved, here are some really great ideas for your chapter to take advantage of. You can host a Shark Tank pitch competition, an entrepreneurship escape room, or even an elevator pitch night. And you can also focus on some local business owners on entrepreneurship spotlights and holding themed spirits days as well. And you can also invite different guest speakers to your chapter. So there's lots of great things that you can get involved with your chapter, including as well as running digital campaigns like #MyFutureBusinessChallenge or a student-led podcast featuring entrepreneurs in your area.
Another highlight in the month of November is American Enterprise Day, which is celebrated on November 15th. This day, established by President Jimmy Carter in 1980, encourages members to explore how businesses fuel our economy and support thriving communities. It's the perfect opportunity to educate others about entrepreneurship and engage your chapter in creative, community-focused activities. Now, please welcome back Katie to talk about a special project to celebrate Entrepreneurship Month.
We encourage every chapter to take part in the support your local business campaign. You can spotlight small businesses on social media, host a shop local challenge, thank a local business for their contributions, or invite local entrepreneurs to speak at your chapter meetings. Don't forget to log your activities in FBLA Connect by November 30th. You'll earn recognition, and your chapter could be featured on FBLA's website or social media. Chapters that complete these activities will receive a digital certification of recognition, a digital medallion for social media, and eligibility for national features celebrating your work.
Thank you so much, everyone. So as we get into the final portion of our webinar tonight, we want to hear from you. So we'll take a few minutes. If anyone has any questions for our panelists or national officers, please drop them in the chat pretty quick. All right. And we do have one question here. So Gabriella is asking, what is something you wish you knew in high school? And we'll kind of go in the same order as our quick fire round. So if we want to start with Drew, that would be great.
I think one that comes to mind for me is the talent and enthusiasm you have already is going to keep carrying you. The extra opportunities you have throughout your career are really only driven by experience and you jumping at the moment. And so there's no waiting for another 10 years to be like, oh, and now all of a sudden I understand something that, can do something I couldn't before. Like it's based on like your compounding experience here. And so I share that, like, you're ready. Like whatever's exciting you, I hope you all just go for it.
What I would say is, I get a lot of questions from people about imposter syndrome. And what I feel like is just everybody has it. Like, don't think you're alone. Like, we all have it. And so if you walk into places where you feel like you don't belong, or maybe you feel like you're not good enough to be there, it's not true. And everyone around you, even if you think they They don't, like, they feel it. They're just good at hiding it. So just know that we all feel it. The key is to just keep working at whatever brings confidence to you. And that could be your network, that could be other people, that could be learning. So yeah, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I think Danielle, you said that well. My word was kind of like fearless. Like I wish I was more fearless, but I think it goes back to again that confidence and that imposter syndrome. And again, have it every day. You know, whether I'm in a boardroom with somebody or today I was in the meeting with the lieutenant governor. Again, you feel like, why am I here? Why should I be here? It's like, no, actually, I should have a seat at the table. And to it's okay to be a little bit fearless sometimes. And I wish I had that in high school a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you all. Our next question is from Jean, and they're asking, what advice would you give to motivate kids to continue with FBLA?
What you put into it is what you get out of it. So just keep at it. I'll tell you, if you want to win your competitive event, I'm pretty sure I worked on mine like 3 hours a day at least. So that's what it takes if you want to win.
That answer. I think I'd add, I find this with my own leadership style now. I'd start by seeking to understand. Why would someone not? Like, who are you thinking about? Is there a specific person in mind? Is there more of a cohort of students you're worried about? Like, try to understand why they ever wouldn't. Because I think for you all, you're probably like, why wouldn't you? And so I think first seek to understand.
Yeah, and I look at this group of that's on this call. We have 250,000 FBLA members, and there's a couple hundred on this call. You guys are the ones that are not probably going to just fall off of your involvement at FBLA after you graduate. Again, for me, it's this opportunity. It's a lifelong commitment. This organization is. It's not just oh, I was a member and I'm done. It is how do I? FBLA has given me a lot. I often say too, it didn't change my life. It truly saved my life. And it gave me purpose. It showed me my passion. And so I feel like I have a responsibility and obligation to carry that forward through the rest of my life and to give back in a different way. So for me, it's like that's what FBLA, this journey, my journey didn't end when I walked off the stage at Collegiate. It probably just began for me and it continues. And Danielle and Drew, like you're back in this position because we want to give back. We want to be a part of this. What's next for you all?
Thank you. Our next question is from Gracie, and she's asking, what do you think the opportunity cost of becoming an entrepreneur is, and what did you have to give up in order to get where you are today?
Okay, it's slightly rude. I understand to answer a question with a question, but this was posed to me once, and so I thought I loved it. It was you're often asked about like the risks of entrepreneurship. I hope you also ask in the same kind of like thoughtful exercise, like the risks of employment. And what I mean by that is like you are choosing, I think, with each path, like there's no right or wrong answer. And that's why I think I led this panel off with like this is an incredibly personal decision. But knowing you and yourself and what inspires you and what motivates you, um, which one's going to help you show up at 5 p.m. or later, like to your family, to your friends, like which one's going to give you the most energy? And that's very different people. Some people love a blank sheet of paper that they get to draw the shapes on it and figure out exactly like what their day is going to look like. Other people hate that, and that's okay, right? Like just knowing yourself and like taking the time to like have that introspection, I think is going to be incredibly important. Like for me on the entrepreneurship side with opportunity costs, like of course there's some certainty. Like I have more uncertainty in my professional life now than I've ever had before, and I'm okay with that. I'm reckoning with it, but it's real. And so I hope you ask both sides of the question throughout your career.
That was too good. I just say same.
Yeah, and I think you also like with that too, you give up a lot, to be an entrepreneur. There's a lot of sacrifices. We wear a lot of different hats, you know, especially when we're starting out. You know, I didn't take a salary for several years or a decent salary and took enough just to live, right? And so my staff made more than I did, you know, but now you can kind of flip that as time goes on. So you give up a lot and you wear a lot of hats and you do a lot of different jobs because that's what the position calls for. And I look at that. But again, it's what I want. It's what I signed up for. I get to control that narrative, and that's what I love about it.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. That was our last question of the webinar tonight. So thank you so much, Drew, Danielle, and Brian for being with us tonight. And as we wrap it up, remember this quote from Steve Jobs: "I am as proud of many of the things we have not done as the things we have done. And innovation is saying no to 1,000 things." So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. If we didn't get to your questions in the chat, we will reach out by email, but please let us know if there's anything else you need with Entrepreneurship Month. But thank you all again for joining us, and a big shout out to our panelists. We love learning from you and hearing from you tonight. So thank you so much again, and happy National Entrepreneurship Month.